sustainability, language and other things, quality of services provided for the community members that
رسمي شميت لي مغازية شيكاوي رامي بيخي دروت يتوالي
I am Thomas Hammarberg, and I am Commissioner for Human Rights in the Council of Europe since April 2006. By nationality, I'm Swedish, but I do work on an European level nowadays. My task is actually to try to convince government to respect the standards on human rights to which they have once agreed. For instance, the European Convention for Human Rights. This means that I travel much and visit all the countries in Europe, the 47 member states of the Council of Europe. But I don't only talk with governments. On the contrary, I try to myself see the situations as they are, to talk with ordinary people, with groups in the civil society, with ombudsmen and others who would give the real picture of the situation. And then when I talk with governments, I try to convey what I heard from people at large. One major problem that I've had to face is the issue of migration and the rights of migrating people. This is from a visit in Greece along the border to Turkey. Here we see a mined area. They have fenced it, they marked it as mines, and there are mines there. Just before I came there, in fact, 4 people had blown up, coming in the night, not seeing the warning signals, going into the mined area and was killed by the exploding mines. Many people trying to come to Europe and efforts by governments to stop them from coming. Some people are fleeing. They are trying to get away from repression and the risks of being arrested or even tortured or killed. Others are unemployed and desperate financially, economically, and would like to come to Europe to find a job, start a new living. The situation is similar in several other European countries. The conditions are really not good. These young men, they complained, among other things, that they had not had a possibility to telephone home to their parents or family members in order to inform them that they had got stuck and been put in detention like this. They also complained that diseases were spreading between them because they were packed together in such a small area.
Go England, England.
No, as in England.
No.
He says he wants.
Yes.
He says that he wants to go England, not as in. He don't stay. Understand? Business go.
No clothes, no money.
Please say that. Georgian. Mister, what? We have our.
Vous pensez que vous êtes, je ne sais pas, au Mali, au Niger, vous voyez à la télévision les annonces de voitures, de belles femmes, d'appartements, le monde de la consommation massive. Il dit, bon, et qu'est-ce que je fais ici dans la misère absolue? Alors je vais risquer ma vie pour ma famille, je veux au moins essayer d'arriver là-bas. C'est quelque chose de tout à fait naturel quand vous ne trouvez pas dans votre pays les moyens de vivre dignement. Je m'appelle Alvaro Gil-Robles, je viens d'une trajectoire académique, universitaire, avec une expérience dans ma vie comme ancien ombudsman en Espagne, au médiateur de la République, en France, et élu comme commissaire aux droits de l'homme l'année 1999 pour mettre en route l'institution du commissaire tout à fait nouveau dans l'histoire du Conseil de l'Europe. On n'est pas là pour faire seulement un travail d'ONG. On est là pour faire un travail avec le gouvernement pour résoudre les problèmes. Et là, c'est un travail aussi diplomatique. Ferme dans la dénonciation qu'il faut dénoncer, mais en même temps, ouvrant les portes à des solutions factibles. C'est-à-dire, c'est une médiation difficile entre le problème des citoyens, les gouvernements responsables et les possibilités de résoudre les problèmes. En Turquie, l'Église orthodoxe était victime du système, d'une certaine façon. Parce qu'il y avait des difficultés de relations entre l'Église orthodoxe à Constantinople et le gouvernement. Alors là, c'était un peu la position de quelqu'un qui vous demande « aidez-moi à parler avec le gouvernement et transmettre ce message-là ».
Sous des meilleures conditions.
C'est aussi une partie que les gens ne connaissent pas du travail du commissaire, qui se passe en silence. Travail diplomatique, travail d'essayer de trouver des solutions à des problèmes sans des éclats publics, sans que personne perde la face. Le travail est énorme. Il ne faut pas non pas avoir le délire de grandeur, penser que le commissaire va être une espèce de d'Artagnan qui va sauver le monde. Non. Le commissaire travaille dans un contexte, travaille avec le gouvernement qui sont au Conseil de l'Europe. Si quelqu'un pense que le commissaire c'est une vedette, alors là il se trompe. C'est un travail d'équipe, c'est un travail entre tous, avec une responsabilité particulière, mais c'est une partie en plus du Conseil de l'Europe.
Directement aux personnes qui connaissent la question.
Pour beaucoup des pays, parler des droits de l'homme, quelquefois, c'est quelque chose qui met mal à l'aise, comme si réellement c'était parler des choses, on était mal élevé en parlant de ça, parce que le droit de l'homme, par définition, se respecte. Eh bien non. Eh bien non. Quelquefois, oui, bien sûr, avec des gens vraiment remarquables qui font son travail, mais quelquefois, il y a des violations très graves des droits de l'homme. La première fois que je visitais ce centre, au mois de décembre 1999, en pleine guerre, son état était tel que je demandais à Moscou la fermeture de ce centre. Mais le message, je crois, le plus important aujourd'hui, c'est savoir que dans un pays, il faut que la justice fonctionne d'une façon indépendante et pour tout le monde, et que les méthodes de faire disparaître les gens sont inacceptables.
That was precisely at the transition moment. He worked for 6 years. The mandate is that long, and my mandate is also 6 years. We had then, and very much now, a very good cooperation. I think I was extremely fortunate to succeed him, and he seems to be satisfied with my work on the basis of what he started. In some cases, governments or authorities are afraid of the camera, but when it comes to visits, my own presence there, I have not been refused. And this is in line with an agreement that when my office was established 10 years ago, it was said very clearly that governments just have to, they have an obligation to cooperate with our work. I try to see the most important decision makers in every country in Europe. And I had a fairly long meeting also with Vladimir Putin. These were very concrete discussions. One issue which came up was the issue of the death penalty. Russia has still not totally abolished the death penalty, which is actually one of the requirements for participation in the Council of Europe. Another issue, of course, was Chechnya, where we are concerned about the pattern of impunity, that many of the crimes committed have not been clarified, and many people have disappeared, probably killed, and are buried here and there in Chechnya. Now, there are many human rights problems in Europe, and I think there is no real ground for complacency that we are fine when it comes to human rights. It's only in Africa, Latin America and Middle East there are problems. No, that's not true. We have really major problems in Europe. Discrimination is a major problem when it comes to human rights. If we could eradicate intolerance and discrimination, then the world and Europe would be much better. My request is the government should take the agreed standards seriously and implement them. If that happened, I think we would have much less of discrimination and intolerance also in Europe today.
Mi ne znamo, brate, što da radimo, kod koga da idemo.
We don't know what to do.
So a major problem in Europe, of course, is how we deal with the Roma community. This is another priority for us when we make visits. This is from Belgrade, a group of Roma. They are living under very difficult circumstances, having problems even to get food. Not long after I'd been there, they were actually evicted from this area, and without them taking part, involuntarily. They were brought away from there and put in containers in another part of the city. And in that part of the city, people demonstrated against the Roma. And the anti-gypsyism that we have in Europe today, with anger and prejudices directed against these people, is something that is a shame for Europe. Some are stateless. They have no nationality at all, because they're pushed between countries. Others don't have the paper to prove who they are and when they were born and where. And this should be such an easy thing to clarify and to ensure that every European has a paper showing who he or she is. But not even that has been produced to quite a number of Roma in Europe today. And that, of course, has chain effects when it comes to health care, possibilities to go to school, etc. The real problem is not standards. The real problem is implementation, to make reality of this vision which was there in the Universal Declaration. That declaration is quite fantastic in the sense that it does define what human rights are about, and has been the basis for all work on human rights since then, including here in Europe with the European Convention and the other Council of Europe standards. This is from South Ossetia, outside the city of Shimvali. This area was terribly hurt by the war in August 2008. And you could see here how houses were destroyed by artillery shelling. Here there are also the villages where ethnic Georgians lived and were attacked during this time by Ossetian militia groups, and had to flee while their houses were destroyed. Many of them became what we call internally displaced and live now in the Georgian-controlled areas. And there, in order to avoid that they would suffer too much during the winter, these small houses, bungalows, were built, much with international support, in order to give some housing to those 25,000 to 30,000 new internal refugees who could not go back to their homes. And unfortunately, they are still there. The right to return has not been respected in those cases. When I travel and meet ordinary people or representatives in the civil society, it's clear that they need something to hope for. And I think that both the United Nations and the Council of Europe has given people some hope that there will be changes, that their voice will be heard. The more important that we actually live up to these expectations. And one of the things that I'm feeling all the time, every day, is whether I really can contribute to meet those expectations and this hope among many. It's quite a challenge.